Imagine for a moment, the USS Carney, a 9,000-ton U.S. Navy destroyer, was cruising waters that just a few months ago were considered safe. Suddenly, the /spy, one radars pick up something unusual, and within seconds, the Aegis combat system kicks in, launching an SM-2 interceptor missile. The sky lights up with an explosion miles away. What happened wasn't just another military exercise. It was the first direct attack by a regional militia against the world's biggest naval power in over 2 decades. What would you do if you were in the crew's shoes? And how did the world's strongest navy react when challenged at this level? It actually happened, and the developments were shocking. The Red Sea is one of the world's vital trade arteries. About 12% of all global maritime trade passes through the Suez Canal, and before the crisis, around 2,068 ships moved through there each month. But that number dropped to just 877 vessels by October 2024. The Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, aren't just another rebel group. They effectively control Yemen's capital, Sana'a, and much of the country's northern territory. Plus, they have access to sophisticated weapons supplied by Iran, including modified anti-ship missiles and long-range drones that can fly over 1,600 kilometers. It all started in November 2023 with an event many thought was isolated. The Galaxy Leader, an Israeli cargo ship, was hijacked by Houthi commandos descending from helicopters. The crew of 25 was held captive for an incredible 430 days. The world thought it was a one-off case, but they were wrong. In December 2023, the U.S. launched Operation Prosperity Guardian, an international task force to protect shipping in the Red Sea. Warships from the UK, France, Italy, and other allies joined the initial effort. It looked like a proportional response to a regional problem, but the real turning point came in January 2024. A modified anti-ship missile based on the Russian Kh-35 design was fired at the USS Laboon. The projectile, probably costing less than $100,000 to make, nearly hit a destroyer valued at $1.8 billion. The Aegis defense system managed to intercept the missile, but by an alarmingly slim margin. Less than half a degree of error in its trajectory could have resulted in the first successful attack on an American warship in decades. How is it possible that a rebel group based in one of the world's poorest countries can threaten the most powerful navy on the planet? The answer lies in a lethal combo of Iranian tech, creative engineering, and asymmetric tactics that turned the Houthis into a formidable force of over 800,000 fighters. They're equipped with advanced weapons supplied by Iran, including drones, ballistic missiles, rockets, and anti-aircraft systems. The Houthis aren't just using makeshift gear. They have access to modified Kh-35 missiles, known locally as Kfars, which can hit targets up to 186 nautical miles away. These missiles fly low, hugging the sea's profile to avoid radar detection until the last moments. They also developed a modified version of the Samad-3 drone, capable of flying over 1,600 kilometers, an impressive range for a regionally developed weapon. But their arsenal goes way beyond what was initially thought. The Houthis unveiled the Palestine-2 missile in June 2024, which closely resembles Iranian Fateh-1 and Khaibar-Shikin missiles. While they claim the missile is locally made, defense analysts reject that, spotting clear Iranian components in the weapon's structure. The supply network's sophistication is impressive. Companies like Shenzhen Ryan ship hundreds of advanced military components to Houthi operators in Yemen, including sophisticated parts for missile guidance systems. This reveals a complex international supply chain, allowing the Houthis to maintain and expand their military capabilities. The Houthi strategy is brilliant in its simplicity: overwhelm American defenses. Defending against these attacks, the U.S. Navy is spending resources on a staggering scale. Each SM-2 missile used to intercept Houthi attacks costs about $1.2 million. Hundreds of these interceptors have already been fired. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, which led operations in the Red Sea through 7 intense months, reached operational limits, with its crew working 18-hour shifts daily. The carrier returned to the U.S. in July 2024, welcomed as heroes. During those 7 months, Eisenhower's embarked air wing flew over 3,200 combat missions, intercepting Houthi drones and missiles at an unprecedented frequency in modern U.S. naval history. The USS Theodore Roosevelt replaced Eisenhower, maintaining the American presence in the region. According to the Department of Defense, more than 170 attacks were specifically aimed at U.S. warships. Although no American military ship has been hit yet, the precision and intensity of the attacks have consistently increased. The tensest moment came in November 2024 when 2 American destroyers were attacked simultaneously in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The Houthis launched at least 8 suicide drones and 5 anti-ship ballistic missiles in a coordinated strike demonstrating far more sophisticated military capabilities than previously thought. In July 2025, the Houthis scored their first major success against civilian targets. The merchant ship Eternity C was hit twice, resulting in the deaths of 4 crew members and the vessel sinking. The attack was surgically precise. First, a missile to disable the ship, then a second nighttime strike to ensure it sank. But behind the numbers and stats are powerful human stories. The sailors aboard the USS Carney, for example, spent 175 consecutive days at sea, facing almost daily attacks. They described the constant tension of knowing the alarms could sound at any moment, signaling incoming enemy missiles. Commander Rick Burgess, who led air defense operations in the Red Sea, described the experience as surreal. You're defending merchant ships from countries you've never visited, crews you've never met, against attacks from people who've never seen your face, he told an exclusive naval press interview. But maybe you're wondering, why does this matter to me? The answer's simple. Everything you buy, from smartphones to gasoline, is affected by this crisis. Rising maritime insurance costs have already added an average of 2% to the final price of imported goods. Ships that used to take 10 days to get from Asia to Europe now take 35 days, going all around Africa. Brent crude oil prices have jumped 15% since the crisis started, not just because of the direct attacks, but because of the instability they create. Shipping companies are spending $1 million extra on fuel per trip due to detours around the Cape of Good Hope. The U.S. response has been measured but firm. Operation Prosperity Guardian expanded to include over 20 countries, with warships continuously patrolling the Red Sea. The international coalition represents an unprecedented effort in modern naval coordination, involving forces from the UK, France, Italy, Denmark, South Korea, Japan, and many others. The backbone of the operation is the American aircraft carriers rotating through the region. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower led the initial operations, followed by the USS Theodore Roosevelt, and most recently the USS Harry S. Truman. Each of these ships represents an investment of over $13 billion and carries about 5,000 crew and support personnel. International coordination is facilitated through the Link 16 system, allowing ships from different countries to share radar and targeting info in real time. When a French ship detects a Houthi missile, that info instantly gets relayed to American, British, and other coalition destroyers, enabling a coordinated response. U.S. forces have carried out more than 50 preemptive strikes on Houthi positions, targeting weapons depots and command centers. These strikes are carefully planned to avoid civilian casualties, using precision-guided munitions that can hit specific targets without causing significant collateral damage. What makes this operation unique is its fundamentally defensive nature. Unlike previous conflicts where the U.S. took the initiative, here they're reacting to constant attacks. It's a paradigm shift reflecting the new reality of naval power projection in the 21st century. The logistical complexity is impressive. Maintaining 3 carrier strike groups in the region requires a steady flow of supplies, fuel, and personnel. Replenishment ships make regular trips between U.S. bases in the Persian Gulf and the operational forces, transporting everything from million-dollar missiles to spare parts and food for thousands. The confrontations in the Red Sea are driving accelerated tech innovations. The U.S. Navy is testing laser defense systems that can shoot down drones at a fraction of the cost of conventional missiles. The laser weapon system can neutralize aerial targets for less than $1 per shot, compared to $1.2 million for an SM-2 missile. Artificial intelligence is being integrated into defense systems to automatically identify and prioritize threats. Behind the Houthi attacks is a broader Iranian strategy that's a masterclass in power projection through proxies. Iran, through the Houthis, is testing the limits of American tolerance without getting directly involved. It's a form of power projection that allows plausible deniability while showing global disruption capability. This strategy isn't accidental. Iran has spent decades developing a network of extremist groups across the Middle East, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, Shiite militias in Iraq, and now the Houthis in Yemen. Each group serves specific strategic purposes, but all share the ability to project Iranian power without direct exposure. The Houthis are a particularly interesting case because they effectively control national territory, something other Iranian proxies haven't managed. They govern Yemen's capital, Sana'a, and administer ports, airports, and critical infrastructure. This gives them operational legitimacy that groups like Hezbollah, despite their power, don't have. Saudi Arabia, traditionally the main opponent of the Houthis, has taken a surprisingly neutral stance during the Red Sea crisis. The Saudis are prioritizing diplomatic negotiations and seem reluctant to get militarily involved again in Yemen after years of costly direct conflict that drained billions and cost thousands of lives. The UK has emerged as the US's most consistent partner in this crisis. British warships have actively participated in interception operations, and the Royal Air Force has conducted coordinated strikes against Houthi positions. This partnership reflects both the historic, special relationship and significant British commercial interests in Red Sea trade. The European Union launched its own operation called Aspides, working in coordination with the American Prosperity Guardian. This duplication of effort reflects both the need for a robust response and the political complexities of multinational military operations. China and Russia maintain ambiguous positions. Publicly, they criticize Western military operations and call for diplomatic solutions. The U.S. faces a classic dilemma: how to respond to attacks provocative enough to require a response, but not devastating enough to justify a large-scale military operation. Each successful interception shows defensive capability, but also reveals American systems' tactics and limitations. The Houthis, on the other hand, have already won in many ways. They forced the world's biggest navy to divert significant resources to a region once considered safe. They disrupted global trade and established themselves as a player that can't be ignored. Projections for 2025 and 2026 aren't optimistic. The Houthis continue getting more sophisticated gear from Iran, including missiles and drones with onboard AI. The U.S. Navy is considering developing temporary bases in the region to reduce reliance on aircraft carriers. A possible diplomatic solution involves UN-mediated negotiations with security guarantees for Yemen in exchange for an end to attacks. But the Houthis have explicitly tied their attacks to the Israel-Hamas conflict, making the situation even more complex. What we're witnessing in the Red Sea may be the start of future conflicts. Non-state actors with access to advanced tech can challenge superpowers in ways once unimaginable. The era of uncontested naval supremacy might be coming to an end. The U.S. Navy is learning valuable lessons about defense in high-threat environments, adapting tactics and tech to face asymmetric threats. These lessons will be applied not just in the Red Sea, but in naval operations worldwide. While you watch this video, probably 3 or 4 merchant ships changed course to avoid the Red Sea. Dozens of American sailors are at battle stations, monitoring radars for threats. Somewhere in Yemen, Houthi technicians are preparing the next attack. This story is far from over. It's a new kind of conflict defining what the 21st century will look like. Not with huge decisive battles, but constant tension, tech against tech, determination against resources. And we're all, in some way, part of this story. If you want to keep following this real saga that's redefining global naval power, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because in the Red Sea, every day brings new developments in this high-speed chess game between a superpower and a group refusing to play by international rules. The next move could change everything.